Yo, what's good? This is DJ Craftmatic. I'm in here with Paulie Dubz, of course.
Hey, welcome back.
Welcome back, listeners. This is going to be episode 7. This is 7th, right? Yeah, 7. Episode 7 of the Antidote podcast. You know, pirate radio. That's how we do shit. And we're about to talk about some more music, man. One of the things that's a big storyline right now for 2019 is a lot of artists are still stuck to these deals that are crazy and aren't making any money off of it. It seems like the artists are getting less and less money. But, you know, it's one of those things that we've been talking about for a long time. And the biggest one that's being impacted currently to date is De La Soul. We wanted to talk about that and bring some light to the situation going on with Tommy Boy Records and De La Soul, and basically De La getting fucked out of every single dollar that they're trying to make or been trying to make over the last 25 years. Yo, it's like crazy.
Yeah, it's 30 years.
30 years, yeah.
March 3rd was the 30th anniversary of 3 Feet High and Rising, a hip-hop album that changed the game. These dudes are legend status for sure, De La Soul. They were the first ones to kind of be like, you know, more abstract kind of rappers. They came up at a time that Public Enemy and conscious rap was the wave at that time, and they just kind of came out. And De La Soul has never been released digitally. None of their albums have ever been released either on the iTunes directory or on Spotify or Apple Music or any streaming platform. So De La Soul has never been released digitally before, and it's kind of bullshit, right? Like you can't listen to these classic albums that these dudes dropped.
Yeah, they're not making any money off of it. It's not anywhere digitally released. So unless you own the physical copies of those, you'll never have a De La, at least to this point. They were getting ready to, but a lot of the pushback that has been coming from the entertainment industry as far as hip hop artists, everybody has come to their aid. And I love seeing it all the way from, you know, Jay-Z, Questlove, like all the above, man. They're showing love to De La Soul, who are, of course, legends in this game. So you got to give them all the respect. And as many people who purchased that album and grew up listening to De La, they barely made any money off of that.
No, and it's a damn shame. So basically what happened, it's the 30th anniversary of 3 Feet High and Rising. Obviously, Tommy Boy wants to capitalize on that and finally, you know, drop everything digitally on the streaming services. De La puts up a IG post in February, a couple of weeks ago now. It says, "Dear fans, just got off the phone with Tommy Boy Records. Negotiations or lack thereof to release our catalog on all streaming platforms. Uh-oh." And then the next one said, you know, Tommy Boy didn't like us putting up that message, but we're going to keep fighting. We're going to keep going for it. And then a couple of days later, they said, hey, Tommy Boy is going to put up our entire catalog up for streaming, but they say that we owe them a bullshit $2 million. So we're only going to get 10% of all revenue off of this, with the rest of the cut going to Tommy Boy, a 90-10 split.
Wow. 90-10, yo, 90-10.
Okay.
That's unheard of. Well, I mean, it's not unheard of, but I mean, like they're getting royally fucked at this point.
Right. So it's bullshit. Just like the genius Jizza said back on the Beneath the Surface album, Tommy ain't my boy. So this dude, Tommy, going after this bullshit, trying to take 90%. First of all, these guys have never had a digital rights contract ever signed. So in terms of the masters to digital rights, that's all questionable because, you know, when they signed the record deal in the 80s with this fucking asshole, streaming wasn't part of the deal, right?
Right.
So he can't hold them to that previous contract on there. And once they set that information out, Tidal said they're not going to stream the catalog at all. And they specifically said that Jay-Z told Tidal not to put up the De La Soul catalog. And like you said, Nas, Questlove, the whole industry kind of came up together. Everyone except for Offset, who
everyone except for Offset
kissing his feet. But,
right.
But everyone came out, man. Like, this is some bullshit, man.
Yeah, it's just another case of the labels taking all the profits, all the hard work. You know, De La Soul made their money in that, as far as for Tommy Boy, and for them to try to just pull some bullshit like this. First of all, Tommy Boy hasn't been relevant in decades now. I mean, we're talking in over 10 years that these dudes haven't had any relevancy to the game, and then try to change and hold these guys hostage for their catalog. It's ridiculous. And it's another point of what we talked about in our early, episodes, is owning your masters and things like that. This is where the labels get you as an artist, and they're basically holding them hostage. And I'm glad to hear and see that Jay-Z has stepped up to the plate as far as for Tidal and said, you aren't gonna, we're not gonna stream this, and you guys aren't gonna make any money. If they're not gonna make no money, then neither are y'all. And yes. I love that portion of it, because De La can go on tour and they're gonna get paid. So, I mean, they can always go on tour and get their money, and they can get it in full, based on that. But as far as for the actual album itself, it's just travesty at this point that people, these record labels are still holding these artists to these kinds of deals.
Yeah. And so another thing to bring up about De La Soul is they actually were one of the first groups to get sued for sampling and not crediting the sample here. I think it was like a rock band that they sampled on one of their songs.
Yeah.
And the case was settled out of court. So they lost a lot of money off the top that way, right? Like they lost all the rights to that song. And
right.
They were kind of chastised. Now they're getting burned on the other end here. And then another interesting thing here, you were talking, Tommy Boy hasn't been relevant for a while. So if you want to talk about Tommy Boy, here's where it kind of gets interesting. In 1985, Warner Brothers acquired 50% interest in Tommy Boy. In 2002, Warner was dissatisfied with sales, so they let Tommy Boy split off of its roster. So they let Tommy go. Master recordings remained with Warner during that time until 2017, when Tommy Boy reacquired its catalog.
Oh, wow.
From Warner. And quickly worked to upload albums and videos to its YouTube channel. So not only like this dude didn't even have the rights for 20 years. All of a sudden, Spotify starts blowing up. Apple Music comes out, and this dude reacquires an entire catalog real quick. Now he's screwing over the artists that made him all of his money.
Right. Wow. So the guys definitely, the dude not only just tried to pull a fast one, well, he did, because I mean he's on it back, and then he tries to turn it around and fuck the rappers again for the second time around.
It's total fucking bullshit. Like, come on, man. And we're talking about De La Soul are the ones that this is kind of what they're trapped into. So, I know a lot of these new rappers, a lot of these new cats are kind of like saying, fuck the legends, but you need to learn from the legends and learn the shit that they're going through to make sure to get your money right. And if you can, fuck these labels, avoid them at all costs.
Yeah, it for real. And the labels are definitely pushing back. It goes into another part of the story when it comes to all of this. Just recently, a bill was passed where there was going to be an increase of 44% to all streaming services paid out to people, to artists. So an increase of 44%, and all of the streaming services except for Apple actually push back and are trying to take it back to court. And now they're re-suing people. So the originals who started trying to push this through and were actually suing the Spotify's and things like that, they basically won. And now with their, passed a bill 44%, and now everybody's trying to push back again. And now they're actually trying to re-sue. They're trying to sue back for even a more or less of a share for the streaming services at this time. And this just goes to the fact that all these labels and these streaming services, they all work together to make money, and the artist still gets screwed out of all that money.
Yeah, it's complete and total bullshit. And we're not even getting into the ticket scheme on the live event side of it, which I'm sure we'll get into here in a couple episodes for sure.
Boy, let me tell you.
It burns.
Yeah, man, it's just ridiculous how these labels are doing it. And, definitely shout out to De La Soul, and we're with you. We're definitely with you. We support. Fuck Tommy Boy, boycott Tommy. And again, all the big artists came out in support of De La Soul, and even Joe Budden. He was on his podcast actually crying, talking about the struggle, because he's been through it himself. He got into a bad deal with Def Jam, and he owed them for a long time as far as getting out music and things like that. That's why Joe Budden never put out really music like that, is because he knew that he was going to be tied to getting those out and then not seeing any profits or anything back for that, or even owning half of that shit. So, he was very emotional on his talk show as well, just because of where that hits home. And as an artist myself, I can completely understand that, definitely, as you have to pay for everything as it is, studio time, beats, and everything else, and try to make a living off of it is damn near impossible when all these labels and these streaming services want to basically not give you a single thing to to be able to actually get you taken care of, or at least be able to take care of your family for the upcoming generations.
Right. We don't know who any of these people are. We don't know, what I mean, who these labels are who are making the 90% of this money, but we know who De La Soul is. And I don't know about you, but I think, when I think of De La Soul, I think their grandkids should be able to eat.
Right. Exactly.
You know what I mean? I think they should have their family set up for life for what they've done and for what they've contributed to the music industry and things like that. And instead, man, these dudes can't even listen to De La Soul.
Real talk. Can't even listen to it unless you own it. And luckily, I got copies. I got 3 Feet and Rising on vinyl for myself. But then again, it just makes me feel bad that they got screwed back in the day and they really didn't see any of that money.
What was funny though is in 2014, De La Soul on Valentine's Day, they made its entire catalog absolutely free digital download from their website, and it was all torrented files of their albums that was on there. Like, it still had a little
they had to steal their own music back. That shit's wild, bro.
They had to steal their own music back and give it back. They had to Robin Hood their own music.
Robin Hood them for real, just to get it's like oh man, that's like Debo stealing your shit, and it's like when Smokey went in there and robbed him. He went through his pants in the middle of the night, bro, and uploaded that shit for a few hours and was like, here, everybody, fuck.
Yeah,
I got some money. That's just crazy, man. And it's just terrible for the music industry in general, because it's like, even for anybody who wants to be an artist, I know that these young kids don't give a fuck. They're seeing the instant millions and things like that, or they're seeing instant gratification, so they don't care. But these young kids are even dumber than the ones that we're trying to get back and find things in the 80s. Not saying they're dumb, but obviously they didn't know what they were getting themselves into, and even these younger artists nowadays still don't. I know Blueface. He's managed by Whack 100, which is Games manager, and he's signed to 4 different labels at the same time and didn't even realize it.
That's crazy, man.
You basically got to owe 4 different people before you really see any of that money back. How dumb is that? So it's like these guys aren't really setting you up for success, and that's why Chance the Rapper did it smart. Tech Nine, of course, is the mogul millionaire, and it all started back in the day with Master P and everybody like that. But they knew, I'm going to own 100% of my shit.
E40,
E40, Too Short, I'm pretty sure is too. Ain't nobody signed him to no deal. That nigga got 80 albums, so got the deal done. That shit's been done for 40 years, bro.